So yesterday I done a absolutely fucking horrible stream. It probably went for like 20 minutes. My internet was playing up, but a lot of you guys came through and actually gave me some pretty cool ideas surrounding some videos I should do. And one of you guys mentioned that you would love to see, actually a lot of you mentioned that you'd love to see another sex chapter between Kaneki and Toka, because look, why the fuck not? Huh? Like, why the fuck not? So we're actually going to be looking at another variation of a sex chapter, and actually like a theory or discussion in general. And that's actually between Akira and Amon, which I don't think anyone's kind of actually picked up on, because they are kind of like a couple at this point. I understand like the situation between Akira and Amon's a little bit weird. We haven't seen them. They fucking completely fell off the grid. They've disappeared. No one knows where they are, what they're doing. You know, I thought it'd be interesting to kind of, I guess, speculate on the future of Akira and Amon and where that could potentially lead them. So now I'm not sure how people are going to feel about this, right? Because it kind of turned into the whole fucking next generations bullshit, which I'm not a big fan of, like next generation, you know, like with the children and whatnot. But obviously with Toka being pregnant and potentially having a child, or maybe even two or whatever, you know, like Kaneki's, I guess, son or daughter, whether or not this child actually lives, you know, kind of puts us in a direction for the future of ghouls and the future of Tokyo Ghoul in general. In saying that, I thought it would be interesting to talk about the possibility of Akira and Amon actually also having a child, right? Now, I know that might sound a little bit weird, and especially something that we would most likely never see. I feel like the Toka and Kaneki sex chapter, whatever you want to call it, is kind of like in a league of its own. I don't think we're ever going to get a chapter like that ever again, let alone with Akira and Amon. But I thought like maybe it would be interesting to kind of segue another character potentially into the future alongside of potentially Kaneki's child. Now, in hindsight, a child between Akira and Amon is actually not that too far-fetched. It might sound far-fetched on paper, considering that like I said, I don't think we'll ever see a chapter or even a progression regarding their relationship. You know, we've seen Amon and Akira kiss, and that's about it. I don't think we're going to get anything more than that, right? But Akira actually becoming pregnant and having a child and whatnot, it's not entirely too far-fetched. And it actually could work really well with, I guess, Kaneki's child in perspective, right? Because if, you know, you have two children somewhat around the same age, depending on when Akira gets pregnant, when she gives birth and whatever, you know, you could have a, you know, nice little setup for the future of ghouls, which is what Kaneki's obviously trying to build. So theoretically, on one hand, you have Kaneki's child, who is most likely going to grow up without having a father figure. And then on the other hand, you have Akira and Amon's potential child, and whether or not that child would be a ghoul or not, considering that is kind of the same way how you breed pure half ghouls, similar to Eto. So Akira obviously being a human and Amon being a half ghoul of sorts. I mean, the situation there for them having a child, I feel like would segue really well with Kaneki's child, and they could grow up together and kind of live in a world in reminiscence of Kaneki's legacy, basically, you know, what he left behind. This would also help Toka, you know, if she lives by the end of the series, and if she is the one to actually raise her child, she could get a lot of help from motherly figures, which Akira is a very big motherly figure, as well as Amon. He's kind of like the dad of the group, or I always pictured him to be a lot more mature than a lot of other characters. Even though he doesn't get much panel time, I feel like his presence and everything about him himself puts him leagues above everyone when it comes to age, basically. I don't even think he's that much older. I believe he's in his mid-20s as well, or something like that. I'm not entirely sure, but he seems more mature as a person. So, you know, the possibility of Akira and Amon having a child alongside of Toka and Kaneki, I feel like would mesh really well with the story, potentially in the future. Now, like I said, I don't know what the child would be, you know, if they ever were to have one. I'd want to say it'd just be like a normal human, just because we've seen Kaneki and his DNA and how like the human DNA still resides inside of Kaneki and how it's like slowly killing him and everything. I feel like the same thing's gonna happen to Amon, unless, you know, the design for Amon's completely different, which it is at the end of the day. Like, the design between Kaneki and Amon is completely different. However, we don't know how different in terms of like DNA structure and whatnot. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what type of child Kaneki has, basically, whether he has a ghoul child or like a half ghoul or a demi-human, whatever. And then from there we can kind of gauge what potentially Akira and Amon could have, just judging by, I guess, Amon's DNA structure and potentially how much human DNA he still has left. So, I mean, the possibilities are endless, but I feel like these two characters, Akira and Amon, are like the next, I don't know, I'm afraid to say it, but couple of this series. I don't know, it's not really a couple, but you know what I mean. So at the end of it, I thought I'd make this video because I haven't seen anyone else talk about it, to be honest, and to be fair, there's not much there to talk about, but I thought the idea was kind of interesting. So with that being said, let me know what you think, because I'm sure you guys have some interesting ideas when it comes to at least Akira and Amon potentially having a child. Mind you, I don't don't think it's gonna happen. I just thought it was interesting to talk about. But with that being said, I'm actually going to end the video here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I really appreciate it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.